Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Keysi Fighting Method, Pensattack. Okay guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Pensador and the Pensattack from the Keysi Fighting Method. Keysi Fighting Method is a martial art out of Spain. These two techniques are forms of shielding. You'll see shielding in different martial arts. Thai boxing, Burmese boxing, Salat will have forms of shielding. Shielding is basically, in my view, using your arms and forming shapes around your head to protect your head. One of the reasons I like KFM and their method of shielding is because it becomes a living technique eventually. It's not just a position that you go in. The more you train it, the more it starts to, in the moment, mutate into what you need, either for defense or offense. Another unique aspect to Keysi Fighting Method is their approach to fighting multiple opponents. It's a little different than what I had learned in the multiple different martial arts as I was coming up. It's common that I wanted to get away from them, or I wanted to align opponents up in order to fight them, reposition them, and that is a good thing. But KFM stays in the fight, and they're assuming that it is a very close quarter fight. In other words, there's not a fighting measure. We're not lining up and getting ready to fight. It's just on. So due to how they look at that multiple opponent training and the various drills and methodologies that they use to train those ideas, I thought it was very unique, and it's one of the things that drew me to it originally. Okay, so the first thing we'll take a look at is what KFM refers to as the Pensador. It's a more defensive posturing or shielding. So my partner is going to be in a lower stance to train the idea. This is a drill. This doesn't mean that you will fight in this way or that you will stand at a predetermined measure in a fight. In order to train the structure and learn, she's going to assume a lower stance, and I can feed her with the focus mitts. So there's a couple of basic positions you start with. One is just sometimes referred to as a shape one. And it's just stacking the hands on top of the head, and you're putting the frames or the forearms in front of the face. So the second version would be to scoot the hands to one side of the head or the other in order to protect that side of the head. So you have to the front, to the left side, and to the right side. Now, one of the first drills we teach is called a 3-count drill. And all I'm going to do is give her a straight punch and 2 hooking punches so that she can become familiar with the structure and train it. Let's go at once. 1, 2, 3. So one of the things she's able to do is adjust what is called the window in front, depending on pressure coming in. It's not going to be a static position. Like we said, eventually with training, this becomes a living thing and you can move it to deal with what's coming in. So as I'm punching forward, she's able to close the window. And as I was hooking, she's able to adjust the frame in different positions to protect her head. That's the basic 3-count. Okay, so the next drill we'll usually play is called the 5-count. If she's done the 3-count drill, I'm just going to add in some lower body shots or uppercuts. So if she builds the framework high, she has the ability to deal with something straight in, a hooking blow to this side, and as I play the uppercut, she can bring the shield down to deal with the uppercut. Same thing on the other side. So if I add that into the 3-count drill, that's what gives you the 5-count drill. 1. All right, the next way that you can train this idea is based on timing. Generally, every technique, everything you do in martial arts can be based on 3 times. I can be ahead of time, on time, or behind time. The Pensador a lot of times initially is looked at as behind time. You've surprised me. Maybe you've jumped out at me, I didn't see you coming, and last minute I'm able just to get my arms up and protect my head. And that is what was being demonstrated so far. So if I swing, they just manage to get some structure between the strike and their head. If they're ahead of time, in other words, if they have good optics and they see the strike coming, her goal is to turn the blades of the forearm into the attack and attack the attack. So she wants to destroy whatever's coming into her. Again. And again, when she applies this, probably not going to stand in one place. She's going to aggressively attack me, aggressively occupy my space with this. But for now, in order to train it and get used to the idea, this is the drill we will usually play.
Sorry, I encroach a lot when I do that.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to take a look at is the pince attack. I commonly nickname this at the academy the Ram Attack. And what you're doing is basically taking the same structure or a variation of that structure, because there are many forms of this the more you train it, and you're just going to attack the threat. We're not going to assume a fighting measure. As soon as she feels there's a threat in the situation, she just violently occupies my space. So we'll take a look at a way to form this and to train it. All right, so Jen's doing me a favor, and she's training the Pensador on my chest today. And she's also not using the tips of the elbow. She's bumping me with the forearms so that she can maintain the health of her training partner. We call this type of training body as a pad. In the academy, you've got several options of training. One is pad work. That's very common. But we equally strive to learn how to use the body as a training tool. So I have to learn to adjust positions and deal with different levels of pressure that is coming in. One other training option for the Ram Attack is the old school shield. It allows your partner to step up the game a little bit on the pressure. That's it. That's a few training methods for the Pensador and the pince attack. So we'll take a look at some application for it. For me, I assume most exchanges generally will start out of a social exchange. We're about this distance, and I'm navigating critical distance. I'm trying to control distance and positioning, but I'm not starting out by an assumed fighting measure. And the second you would see that this is going to elevate to a higher level of force, you would just attack. Even the things that we did initially, where we're looking at blocking a punch with the structure, that's training. Even if she sees the punch coming, she's going to violently occupy my space. She's not going to wait on the punch. And if, for instance, she's a little bit late, then the structure can handle the punch. But her goal is to immediately drive down center line with as much violent force as possible. So we're at a social exchange. The second she sees, she attacks. And she wants to go straight through me here. Again, it's based on timing what the outcome is. If you're a little bit behind time, it may be a block for a punch. But if you have good optics and good judgment on your critical distance, and you're able to read that elevation ahead of time, then you just attack the threat. So one of the things that I found very unique about this structure and this method of training is the Pensador, and its method of shielding is a multi-tool. What do I mean by multi-tool? This is a principle we use a lot in the civilian tactical training program. A multi-tool will operate in different environments and under different structures. So what do I mean? You can do this standing in open space. We will train this against walls. We'll put our students in corners, pin them between cars. We'll put them in a seated position, for instance, at a table at a restaurant or in a booth. And they have to still deal with aggressive force. Now, being out of position like this obviously would put you behind time. So the Pensador is going to be used more as a defense until you have the ability to get online and deliver destructive force. We'll use this position on the ground as well. So all of those things is one of the reasons I refer to this method as a multi-tool. Okay guys, if you like the content that you are seeing on the channel, please give us a like and subscribe and share us with your friends. It helps the channel grow. Also, if you have questions, a lot of the videos we're making is based on the questions that you give us. Please send them. Let us know what you'd like to see.